You think you live on a fully explored planet, but half of that planet has never been explored, and the little we do know is already flowing through your blood. Right now, while you're watching this video, rock is melting beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean, rivers stronger than the Amazon are running through the dark, and creatures with no names are alive down there. 95% of the ocean isn't poorly studied. It has never been explored, not once, not by a single instrument, not by a single human being. We know the surface of Mars in more detail than we know the bottom of what covers half our planet. And this isn't abstract. Microplastics from this ocean have already been found in the blood of 77% of people on Earth, proven in a laboratory. In the arteries of people carrying plastic from seawater, the risk of a heart attack is 4.5 times higher, published in the New England Journal of Medicine. Right now, 75% of all volcanic activity on the planet is happening under its surface, and it's changing the weather over your city without your knowledge. There is a place in this ocean from which a research vessel and 31 people never returned, and the official cause has never been determined. On its floor lie structures older than anything we thought we knew about human history. In 2020, a creature 148 feet long was found there, by accident because it bumped into a camera. Today we're going to cover 9 things the Pacific Ocean is doing to your planet, your climate, and your body, right now, while you're not thinking about it. You live on a planet you've never fully seen, and it's not because you've never been to space, it's because half of that planet has never been explored by anyone. Not a single person, not a single instrument, never. The Pacific Ocean covers 63.5 million square miles. That's more than all of Earth's continents put together. All of them, at the same time. If you combined Asia, Africa, North and South America, Europe, Australia, and Antarctica into one landmass, the Pacific Ocean would still be bigger. It's not just large, it's larger than everything else. And 95% of it humanity has never explored. Not barely studied, not partially explored, never, not once, not at all. We know the surface of Mars better than we know the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. This is not a metaphor. Mars has been mapped at a resolution of a few feet, the floor of the Pacific Ocean, at best to the nearest few miles, and only where instruments have actually been deployed. A red desert 140 million miles away from us has been studied in more detail than what lies a few miles beneath our feet. Robert Ballard, the man who found the Titanic and discovered hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor, put it plainly. The deep sea is the largest museum on Earth. It contains more history than all the world's museums combined, and we are only now just beginning to enter it. Only now just beginning, after all our satellites, GPS, and the internet. But here's what truly changes the picture. What's hidden in that 95% isn't just dark water and a lifeless floor. It's an active system that is affecting your life right now. The weather over your city, the air you breathe, the food you eat, the blood in your veins. Literally. And we'll get to that. Oceanographer Sylvia Earle, who has spent more than 7,000 hours underwater and dedicated her book, The World is Blue to This Ocean, wrote, "Even if you never have the chance to see or touch the ocean touches you with every breath you take, every drop of water you drink, every bite you consume, with every breath, right now." Think of it this way. Imagine you have a car. You drive it every day. But 95% of the parts under the hood you've never seen. You don't know what they do, and you don't even know if they're all there. You just drive and hope everything's fine. That is exactly how humanity exists alongside the Pacific Ocean. And we're going to start with what's happening right now, while you're reading this. Under the water, in the dark, miles below the surface, the Earth's crust is melting, cracking, and tearing apart. 452 volcanoes, most without names, most without any monitoring. And any one of them could change the weather over your city at any moment, and you'd never even hear about it. Right now, while you're reading this, rock is melting beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean. Along 11,000 miles of scorching cracks, lava fields, and fault lines, the Earth's crust is slowly spreading apart. This happened yesterday. It's happening now, and almost no one is watching. 75% of all volcanic activity on Earth, underwater. Not on land with its hundreds of monitoring stations. In the dark, at depths no permanent sensor reaches. 452 volcanoes along the perimeter of the ocean, most without names, most without observation. Robert Ballard, who discovered hydrothermal vents on the Pacific Ocean floor in 1977 and described what he found in the eternal darkness, said, "The fact that this chain of life existed in the cold darkness of the deep ocean, completely independent of sunlight, previously thought to be the source of all life on Earth, has stunning implications. That was said about one specific stretch of ocean floor. There are thousands more like it. From cracks in the floor, columns of boiling water shoot up at 750 degrees Fahrenheit. Not 212, the temperature at which normal water boils. 750. This is only possible under the crushing pressure of the deep. They carry sulfur, methane, heavy metals, and rise from the floor like factory smokestacks. Except this factory has been running non-stop for millions of years. On January 15, 2022, the Hunga Tonga volcano erupted. The ash column shot 35 miles straight up. The shockwaves circled the Earth twice. The tsunami reached the shores of Japan, Peru, and Alaska. Geophysicist Shane Cronin from the University of Auckland said afterward, they had been watching this volcano, watching it, and still didn't see it coming. Now consider this. If they couldn't keep up with a volcano they were already monitoring, what are the 400 they're not watching doing right now? There's a chain of events that never gets mentioned in weather forecasts. An underwater eruption generates enormous heat. That heat changes the ocean's surface temperature. The surface shifts atmospheric currents. The currents change the weather. The weather arrives at your door as a hurricane or a drought, and the meteorologists explain it as an unusual cyclone shift. Nobody mentions the coordinates that no one is monitoring. But the strangest thing about the ring of fire isn't the fire. The strangest thing is what lives next to it. In the floor's cracks, at 750 degrees, under pressure that would crush a submarine without a single photon of light, things are alive. Worms more than 3 feet long, blind crabs, entire ecosystems with no sun. This discovery upended biology. Before 1977, science was certain. Life without sunlight is impossible. Then they sent a submersible down and found it. The consensus collapsed in a single day. There are no boundaries. Life exists where it shouldn't. And the question that follows, where else does it exist? What else have we written off as impossible? Incorrectly. But the fire on the floor is only the beginning. Because at the ocean's surface, there's its own threat. Invisible, silent. In open water, no captain would notice it. Until it's too late. Chapter 3. The Wave That Isn't There. Imagine, you're standing on the deck of a ship in open ocean. The water is calm, the horizon clear. A wave less than an inch high passes under the hull. You felt nothing. The captain felt nothing. The instruments registered a slight tremor and moved on. That wave is moving at 500 miles per hour, like a commercial jet, and in a few hours, it will kill thousands of people. An ordinary ocean wave is movement at the surface. It affects only the top few feet of water, and the energy dissipates quickly. A tsunami is fundamentally different. It's the movement of the entire column of water from surface to floor, a vertical wall miles deep, moving horizontally across the whole ocean. As it approaches shore and the depth decreases, the speed drops. But the energy goes nowhere. It goes up. Less than an inch in open ocean becomes a 100-foot wall at the shore. A 10-story building moving toward you at the speed of a freight train. Mathematically inevitable. No exceptions. Every single time. On December the 26th, 2004, an earthquake measuring 9 on the Richter scale struck the Indian Ocean. The tsunami reached Thailand in an hour and a half, and Somalia in 7 hours, having crossed nearly 3,000 miles of water, 230,000 people, 14 countries. On Khao Lak Beach that morning was a 10-year-old British girl named Tilly Smith. 2 weeks earlier, she had studied natural disasters at school. When the water pulled back sharply and exposed the ocean floor, she recognized what she had just read about. She started screaming at her parents. The adults looked on in bewilderment, a little girl yelling something about a tsunami, and the water had beautifully receded and there were fish on the sand. Her father believed her immediately. The beach was evacuated. Then the wave came. Khao Lak was one of the few beaches in the area where no one died that day. Knowledge from a school textbook, absorbed 2 weeks earlier, saved hundreds of people. On March 11, 2011, a section of the seafloor off the coast of Japan shifted 79 feet. A wave up to 130 feet high hit the coastline. In the city of Rikuzentakata, 23,000 people lived before the wave, 8,000 after. Keiko Toba, the wife of the city's mayor, stayed at the microphone of the city's radio station. She told residents where to run. She told them not to go back for their things. She kept talking as long as she could. The wave reached the City Hall building. She was 47 years old. Between the alarm and the first wave in some areas, less than 5 minutes. Try right now, without reading ahead, to think of where the nearest high ground is from your house. Not roughly, exactly with a route. Most people don't know. And in tsunami risk zones along the Pacific right now, more than 700 million people live. This will happen again. The question is not if, it's when. But there's a threat that has already happened. It didn't arrive as a wave on the horizon. It came quietly, built up over years and is inside you right now. Literally, you ate a credit card this week, and last week, and the week before. Not the whole thing, in pieces too small to see, with fish, with salt, with tap water, and no one can tell you what that means for your body 20 years from now. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there's a place covering 580,000 square miles, bigger than Alaska, 3 times the size of Texas. It's called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, but it's not an island of bottles. You can't see it from a satellite. 94% of all particles are microplastics smaller than a millimeter. They're suspended in the water like fog. You cup the water in your hands. It looks clean. It isn't. Ocean researcher Charles Moore, who discovered the patch in 1997, described it this way. His expedition sailed through it for a week. Every time they scooped up water, there was plastic in their hands. Not next to plastic, through invisible plastic. For a week. Here's the chain. Plastic eats plankton. Plankton gets eaten by fish. You eat the fish. In 2022, researcher Heather Leslie from Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam published a paper in the journal Environment International that became the first direct proof in history that microplastics enter the human bloodstream. Plastic was found in the blood of 77% of participants, ordinary healthy people with no connection to the ocean. It was found in lungs, in placentas, in breast milk. And in March 2024, Raffaele Marfella from the University of Campania published a study in the New England Journal of Medicine that completely rewrote the conversation about plastic. In patients who had microplastics inside their arterial plaques, the risk of a heart attack, stroke, or death within 3 years was 4.5 times higher than in those whose plaques contained no plastic. 4.5 times. Plastic from the ocean in your arteries. Right now, the average person consumes about 1/5 of an ounce of plastic per week. Scientists don't yet know exactly what this does to the body over the long term, because this experiment has never been run before in human history. We are the first generation to eat plastic from birth. Our children will find out the results. And there's one more twist. In 2023, marine biologist Lynsey Haram from the Smithsonian Institution published research that upended everything scientists thought they knew about the ecology of the open ocean. Inside the garbage patch, a new ecosystem is formed. 46 species of coastal organisms, ones that had never before survived in the open sea, are living on plastic, reproducing on plastic, and slowly drifting toward the shores. Haram called it a transoceanic biological invasion. What will happen when they arrive? No one knows. There are no precedents. An invisible cloud of plastic in the middle of the ocean, new organisms drifting toward shore, and all of this is only the surface. Literally. Because under that surface, on the floor, something is happening that you probably never heard of. Rivers flow down there, real ones, with channels, banks, and currents stronger than the Amazon, and they're controlling the weather over your city right now. Chapter 5, Rivers Under the Ocean. Imagine you're standing on the bank of a dark, fast river. Strong current, cold, it smells like depth. Above you isn't sky. There's another 2 miles of water, and you have no idea where this river goes or what lives in it. Rivers flow on the floor of the Pacific Ocean, real ones, with their own channels, banks, currents, stronger than most rivers on land. Your brain pushes back. That's normal. The mechanism is straightforward. Cold, salty water is denser than warm water. It sinks to the bottom and begins flowing horizontally along the ocean floor, winding around underwater mountains, accelerating through canyons, following the contours of the bed. It has speed, direction, and stone banks. Research submersibles that have found themselves in these currents got swept away like corks in an ordinary river. Walter Munk from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, the man his colleagues called the Einstein of the oceans, whose work on ocean currents and waves became the foundation of modern oceanography, spent decades studying deep water movement. He told colleagues plainly, don't expect to be praised when you have a new idea. Over 20 years, it will travel from, that's an error, you're wrong, to, everyone already knew that. That's exactly what happened with the discovery of underwater currents. First disbelieved, then people marveled that anyone hadn't known. In the Denmark Strait between Greenland and Iceland, there is an underwater waterfall. It drops 11,500 feet straight down. Stop at that number. Mount Everest is 29,000 feet from base to summit. This waterfall is nearly half of Everest. It exists in darkness under miles of water and has been falling continuously for thousands of years. By volume, it is 2,000 times larger than Victoria Falls, the largest waterfall on the surface of the Earth. Most people have never heard of it. The deep-sea currents of the Pacific Ocean move volumes of water comparable to the combined flow of every river on Earth every second. This system distributes oxygen in the deep layers, determines where life exists and where there are dead zones. It regulates the ocean's temperature. The ocean's temperature regulates the climate. The climate regulates harvests, rainfall, the strength of hurricanes over your city. Over the last few decades, these currents have slowed by about 15%. This isn't an abstract figure from a scientific journal. When deep-sea currents slow, oxygen distribution at depth changes. Die-offs begin, then disruption of food chains, then the surface, then the fish you eat, then the air you breathe. A river you've never seen is governing what you live on, and it's slowing down. But the rivers on the floor aren't the strangest thing there, because on that same floor, beneath miles of water, something else lies. Straight walls, flat steps, what look like roads, and the age of these things is older than anything we thought we knew about human history. Chapter 6. The Cities That Shouldn't Be There. 20,000 years ago, sea level was 390 feet lower than it is today. Not 3 feet, not 30. 390. Enormous territories that are now underwater were dry land. People lived there. They hunted, they built, they had children, and then the ice started melting. Slowly, over thousands of years. The water rose, the coastlines receded, people retreated inland and told their children about what had been left behind the water. This may be exactly where the flood legends came from. Among the Sumerians, the Greeks, the Indians, the Chinese, the Aztecs, everywhere, independently of each other, the same story. There was a world, water came, everything disappeared. This is not a myth. This is humanity's collective memory of a real event. In 2001, India's National Institute of Oceanography was conducting sonar mapping of the Gulf of Cambodge. Routine work. At a depth of 100 to 130 feet, the instruments detected geometric structures, straight lines, right angles, buildings the size of city blocks. The scientists assumed equipment failure. They ran the check again. They sent divers down. They brought up pottery with fired edges, carved wooden structures, human bones. Carbon dating gave an age of 9,000 years, 4,000 years older than what had been considered the oldest Indian civilization. People were building cities when every textbook said they were just learning to farm, now the Pacific Ocean. In 1986, diver Kihachiro Aratake was diving off the coast of Yonaguni Island in Japan. A routine dive, and then a wall, flat, vertical. Below it, a platform with sharp, clean edges. Further down, steps, regular, identical, rising in tiers. Then an arch. Then what looked like a road. Japanese geologist Masaki Kimura from the University of the Ryukyus studied these structures for more than 20 years. His conclusion? A man-made construction between 2,000 and 10,000 years old. His colleagues push back. Sandstone tends to fracture at right angles. This is nature. They've been arguing for 30 years. The debate is not closed. But here's something neither side explains. Inside the structure, there are two circular stones about 6.5 feet in diameter, perfectly polished, lying precisely in the center of rectangular recesses cut into the rock. Next to them, another one. The same size, the same shape, the same position. Nature doesn't repeat itself with that kind of precision. Nature doesn't work that way. Sea level is rising again, a few millimeters a year. The same trend as 10,000 years ago. The coastlines are receding again. In 100 years, in 500, someone will be diving to our cities. They'll see straight walls, the remains of bridges, flat streets, and they'll ask the same questions we're asking now, looking at Yonaguni. Is this nature or human? And what happened to the people who lived here? But the sunken cities are a story about the past, and in the depths of the Pacific Ocean, there is something alive, something that still has no name. And every time we go down, we find something new, every single time, without exception. Chapter 7. Creatures with No Names. 95% of the Pacific Ocean has never been explored. That means one thing. We don't know what lives there. Not approximately, not partially, not at all. And the little we have managed to find is already changing everything we thought we knew about life. Every deep-sea expedition finds new species, every single one, without exception. In the entire history of deep-sea dives, there has not been a single expedition that came back empty-handed, not one. Naturalist William Beebe, who made the first deep-sea dives in history in a bathysphere in the 1930s and described them in his book Half Mile Down, wrote of what he observed. The only other place comparable to these marvelous nether regions must be naked space itself, between the stars, where sunlight has no power over dust and rubbish of planetary air. He looked through the porthole of the bathysphere and saw creatures no human had ever seen. Never. In 2012, Japanese scientists filmed a living giant squid in its natural habitat for the first time. Depth, 2,060 feet. Before that, Science only knew from bodies washed ashore. On the footage, a creature 26 feet long with eyes 12 inches across, the largest eyes of any living creature on Earth. Eyes that size serve one purpose: to see in absolute darkness, to catch individual photons where there is no light at all. When the submersible tried to move away, the squid followed it. Several minutes in the dark at 2,060 feet. The operators described the behavior as clearly intentional. It was watching. Then it turned and disappeared. In November of 2020, off the coast of California, a siphonophore was discovered, a translucent gelatinous creature 148 feet long. 148. That's longer than a blue whale, the largest animal that has ever existed on Earth. The creature was completely transparent. It was only noticed because it accidentally brushed against the submersible's camera. The longest creature on the planet was living right alongside us, and no one knew. It happened to touch a camera. How many others haven't? In the same ocean lives a jellyfish called Turritopsis dohrnii, about the size of a pinky nail. When it ages or gets injured, it doesn't die. It reverts to its larval stage and starts life over. Completely. From the very beginning. Biologists call this biological immortality, not a metaphor, a scientific fact. In theory, this jellyfish can live forever. And the octopus, an animal with 9 brains, 1 central and 1 in each arm. Each arm thinks independently, making decisions without a command from the center. The octopus perceives color through its skin, even though its eyes can't see color at all. How exactly? Science still doesn't know. It changes its skin texture in 200 milliseconds. It lives 2 to 3 years, then dies. Everything it knew disappears. Every generation starts from zero, and is still smarter than most vertebrates. In 2020, a new species of whale was discovered in the Pacific Ocean, an animal the size of a bus that no one had noticed. Think about that. A bus? No one had noticed. 95% of the ocean is unexplored. Every expedition finds something new. And there is one creature about which official science speaks carefully, weighing every word. A creature officially extinct 3.5 million years ago, but one that has something uncomfortable attached to it. Teeth dated to 11,000 years old. A shark up to 65 feet long. Teeth the size of an adult human hand. Officially extinct 3.5 million years ago. That's what the science says. That's what most researchers believe. But there's something they don't say out loud at scientific conferences. In 1875, the British research vessel HMS Challenger pulled Megalodon's teeth up from the floor of the Pacific Ocean. Not a sensation in itself. Fossils are found regularly. The sensation is something else. 2 of the recovered teeth, when dated using manganese crusts, the thin mineral layer that accumulates on any object on the seafloor at a known rate, gave an age of between 11,000 and 24,000 years. Not 3.5 million. 11,000. 11,000 years ago, people walked the earth. They built shelters. They fished in this same ocean. While possibly in this same ocean, something the size of a bus with teeth the size of a human hand was swimming. Dating by manganese crust was later judged insufficiently precise for conclusions of this kind. There's no official confirmation. Science closed the case. But there's also no definitive answer to the question. What if the method was wrong in the other direction? Robert Ballard, who dedicated his life to exploring the deep and wrote in The Eternal Darkness about how every expedition overturns previous ideas about what's possible on the ocean floor, put it simply, the deep sea is the largest museum on Earth, and we are only now just beginning to enter it. A museum in which 95% of the rooms have never been opened. The megalodon hunted whales. We know this from bite marks on fossilized bones. If it's alive, it's still hunting them. In 2013, a humpback whale vanished without a trace off the coast of southern Australia. It didn't just dive. It disappeared. The carcass never surfaced. No trace. Whales are mammals. They breathe air. They have to surface alive or dead. Australian biologists proposed several theories. None was proven. This doesn't mean the megalodon exists. It means we can't prove the opposite. The Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth, nearly 7 miles down, has been visited by humans fewer than 10 times in all of history. 12 people have been to the moon. Only a handful have reached the bottom of the Mariana Trench. What lives at the depths no submersible has reached is unknown. Literally unknown, and whales sometimes swim close to the shore, sometimes very close to where you swim. But there's a place in the Pacific Ocean that doesn't frighten you with creatures. It frightens you with what happens to physics, to compasses, to instruments, to the people who go there and then don't come back. 31 people, 0 wreckage, an official document from the Japanese government. The triangle between Japan and the islands of Miyake and Iwo Jima. Locals call it the Devil's Sea. In the early 1950s, ships started disappearing here, without distress signals. without wreckage, without bodies. They just left. And that was it. The Japanese government responded the only logical way. They sent a research vessel, the Kaiomaru No. 5, with scientists aboard, to find out what was happening. The vessel disappeared too, along with a crew of 31. This is not a legend, not an urban myth. This is an official document from the Japanese government. It exists. You can find it. After that, the Japanese government officially declared the zone dangerous to navigation. No press conferences, no explanations, no public reports, just don't go there. When a government of that level refuses to explain, that itself is an answer, just not the one you'd want to hear. A scientific explanation exists. Marine geologists have described the mechanism this way. Methane bubbles from cracks in the seafloor sharply reduce the density of the water. The ship doesn't sink in the conventional sense. It falls, as if there were no water beneath it. No listing, no rocking. Straight down in seconds, no time to send a distress signal. Wreckage goes down miles in a matter of minutes. At that depth, no standard search vessel can find it. Imagine, you're standing on deck. The water's calm, the sky is clear. You just had a coffee, you're looking at the horizon, and suddenly the deck drops. Without warning, straight down. Water is already at your knees, already at your chest. 53 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe less. You have maybe 10 seconds. You won't have time to put on a life jacket. You won't have time for anything. The families of the 31 crew members of the Kaiomaru waited for news. The official investigation ran for several years. The conclusion in the document is brief. The cause of what happened has not been determined. 31 people, 0 answers. But there's one more layer. The Devil's Sea is not just a place where ships disappear. It's a place where compasses stop working. The needle starts spinning. GPS gives errors. Navigation instruments record readings that don't fit any known model of Earth's magnetic field. This is not a coincidence. One place, 2 anomalies, 0 official explanations. Zones of anomalous magnetic field have been documented in the Pacific Ocean. In these zones, the field isn't just weaker, it's chaotic. Intensity drops to levels normally only recorded in space, beyond Earth's magnetosphere. Where the field disappears, cosmic radiation reaches the surface virtually unimpeded. Birds get lost. Whales beach themselves. Instruments go haywire. The last public measurement of the magnetic field in the Central Anomaly Zone was made in 2003. Since then, not a single public expedition. More than 20 years of silence. Requests for detailed data have been denied, citing national security interests, magnetic anomalies in the open ocean, and national security. Think about what those two things mean together. 31 people with no answer, a compass that stops working, data classified for 20 years, one place. But everything we've talked about, fire on the floor, invisible waves, plastic in the blood, submerged cities, nameless creatures, a place you don't come back from. This is only what we know, or nearly know. Now imagine what's hidden in what we know nothing about. 50 years ago, scientists were sure the deep ocean is dead. Too cold, too dark, too much pressure. Life there is not possible. This was scientific consensus. Textbooks, conferences, authorities. Then, in 1977, Robert Ballard sent a submersible to the Galapagos Rift. And entire ecosystems were found without a single photon of sunlight. The consensus collapsed in a single day. This is important to understand, is not as a quirky footnote from the history of science. As a principle, everything we know about the Pacific Ocean is knowledge about 5%. The other 95% is not a blank space on a map. It's an active system that is working right now, affecting your life right now, and about which we know almost nothing. Sylvia Earle, who has spent more than 7,000 hours underwater, wrote in The World is Blue words worth reading twice. Even if you never have the chance to see or touch the ocean touches you with every breath you take, every drop of water you drink, every bite you consume. This wasn't written as poetry. It was written as fact. Here's what we've established. 75% of all volcanic activity on the planet is running beneath the surface, without monitoring, without names, without warning. An invisible wave less than an inch high in the open ocean becomes a 10-story wall at the shore, mathematically, without exceptions. Heather Leslie from Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam proved plastic is already in the blood of 77% of people. Rafael Marfella published in the New England Journal of Medicine, plastic in the arteries raises the risk of a heart attack 4.5 times. Rivers stronger than the Amazon flow on the ocean floor, and they're slowing. Cities older than anything we knew about human history lie beneath the water. Every expedition finds creatures with no names. There is a place you don't come back from, and the data about it has been classified for more than 20 years. This isn't a list of horrors. It's a list of what we know about 5%. Now, extrapolate. If 5% contains all of this, what's in the other 95? What ecosystems that we can't even imagine? What creatures with no name and no place in our biological classifications? What processes that are right now changing the climate, the air, the water, without our knowledge? In 2020, a new species of whale was discovered, an animal the size of a bus. Nobody noticed. That same year, a siphonophore 148 feet long was found. It happened to touch a camera. In 2022, a volcano that was being watched erupted stronger than anyone expected. In 2024, Marfella proved plastic from the ocean is already in the arteries, and the consequences are only beginning to show. Every year, something no one expected. Every year, new proof that we've only just started looking down. The Pacific Ocean isn't dangerous because monsters live in it. It's changing the rules of the game because we thought we knew it, and we barely know anything, and the little we do know is already inside us, in the blood, in the air, in the climate, without our knowledge. Right now, half the planet runs by its own rules. We're only just beginning to read them.